Thank you to our witnesses, and appreciate all your testimony already. I'm going to pick on Mr. Egan and Mr. Smiley with my questions today. I will recognize Ms. Green, and I appreciate your comments about our leader's environmental plan and support for renewables. Indeed, I have it in front of me, and it talks about including 15% renewable natural gas in the supply chain in a way that we can already make make already clean natural gas even cleaner. I'll go into my first question because we talk about getting the renewable the marriage between renewable resources and our natural gas to happen. And how do we do that with our existing infrastructure without unduly affecting Canadians that need our natural gas? And the stories, you've heard it many times, Mr. Egan, is places like my neck of the woods up here in northern BC, gas isn't really an option that we can do without. So to increase costs to our Canadians up here because of just making it renewable is something that's simply very difficult. So how do we do that and make it affordable for Canadians?
Well, I think the focus on affordability is an appropriate one. It's a concern for constituents in your riding, Mr. Zimmerman, in constituencies right across the country. And it's something that we focus on all the time. As I noted, we offer the most affordable energy option to Canadians. And right now we're meeting about 35% of energy needs. And that percentage is actually growing. We expect it to grow to 40% in the next 20 years. That said, and the reason it's growing is because customers, residential or commercial, are looking for an affordable energy option, and we offer that. That said, Canadians and Canadian governments are committed to emission reduction targets. So the question then is, all right, what's the most cost-effective emission reduction option you can pursue? RNG, we think, is one of the most cost-effective emission reduction options you can pursue. There's a lot of it across the country. Because of a very robust agricultural industry, because of a robust forestry sector. And we're working on a variety of projects to try to bring that supply to market in the most cost-effective way possible. It's, in our view, probably the single most affordable renewable fuel option, significantly more affordable than actually, in many applications, than conventional electricity, much less new renewable electricity, but it is still more expensive than natural gas. So, the way to support it and the way to drive those costs down is to partner with industry where possible on new technology developments. And I mentioned our Natural Gas Innovation Fund. We're investing in roughly a half dozen RNG companies across Canada that are working on new technologies to make RNG in markets across the country. And to build on those kinds of investments and look to expand them across the country.
Thank you, Mr. Egan, for that. And I think you brought it up earlier in your testimony. I think what's key to it all is that instead of adding a whole bunch of new infrastructure that, we talked about the electrification and how good that can be in certain sectors. But you said it's very costly and we're not there yet. And I think what you brought up that was so critical to this conversation, and natural gas is already a fairly, customers might disagree about a delivery mechanism that's affordable. We had this discussion with Fortis last week, but yet it's still, amongst all the energy forms, it's fairly low in terms of delivery. And you brought up existing infrastructure, and I think that's the key to making this affordable, is that we already have pipes in the ground that go to people's homes to feed their furnaces and whatever else is used by natural gas. And I think that's the key to it all, is that we, this doesn't need to be, sort of remade overnight. We can use our existing infrastructure for many years. Our goal is to, add 50% renewables by 2030. And certainly this enables us to sort of meter up and sort of, dial it up as we go, rather than just bringing on a whole entire new system. Maybe could you just speak to, and maybe Mr., I don't know who to ask, Mr. Egan, whether it's you or Mr. Smiley, the time to spool up for renewable natural gas for, let's say, the natural gas sector, as opposed to spooling up the renewables in other sectors, timeline-wise, what are we looking at if you want to do a comparison?
Well, I mean, there are a whole bunch of renewable fuels out there, and I don't pretend to have a comprehensive comparison of sort of the timelines for each. But one of the things about renewable natural gas is that in many applications, it's available now. We've actually been using it for a number of years in different provinces, including yours, Mr. Zimmer. And as you may know, well, you had Fortis last week, and they talked to you about this, right? There is a renewable natural gas option available. The question, therefore, is not, is there a technological hurdle per se? The question is there market demand, and will that trigger more supply and more technological innovation that will deliver more supply? Now, how does that compare to other renewables? Well, I think a key point is to look at the full value cost when you're doing that. So any other renewable option, ask yourself, is there an existing delivery system in place? Is that delivery system already capable of taking on the fuels? Are significant expansions required? Are backup fuels required, et cetera? And you know, you need to look at that kind of comprehensive analysis in order to make the assessment you're talking about. We haven't done that comprehensive comparison, but I will tell you that you know, we did make a aspirational commitment as an industry to 5% RNG in our systems by 2025 and 10% by 2030. We did that a number of years ago, and that's triggered all sorts of activity by our industry across the country. And our utilities are working, as the ones who spoke to you last week indicated, or 2 weeks ago indicated, our utilities are working within their own regulatory frameworks to make sure as much of that product can come to market as quickly as possible.
Thanks, Mr. Egan, and thank you, Mr. Zimmer.
Thanks.